r/ProRevenge. Revenge to the tune of $50,000 plus on owner who wrongfully fired me. Story by melindee. Enjoy. This is a lengthy story that happened to me around 6 years ago. I applied for a job as a bar manager at a new resto bar that opened up in my area, Ontario, Canada. The owner of this bar had some issues with her liquor license being revoked at a previous establishment. And there was some sort of stipulation, this part I'm not clear on, where she was required to not be on site or involved in the business in any capacity for any reason. She was a prohibited person. And I believe she made her husband the owner on paper, but for this story, she is referred to as the owner. Hire a manager with 5+ years experience and a Smart Serve certificate to run and be responsible for the bar, in order to get another liquor license. After a short interview process, I was offered the job, and was told of these terms. I accepted them despite the already apparent red flags. I was a very poor student. When the restaurant per bar opened, everything quickly fell apart. Despite the owner not being allowed to be on premises, she proceeded to micromanage both the kitchen and front of house. She stopped scheduling kitchen staff to save money, and was working in the kitchen herself. Food quality plummeted, customers became irate at how long of a wait it was, and word spread quickly in the small town. Eventually, a select few regulars became our only customers. More hours got cut. Waitresses and kitchen staff were let go. The owner was now drinking at the bar, and at the same time was waitressing and cooking. This was all in the matter of a month. One night that month, it was exceptionally nice out, and we had a lot of boaters in the area. We had a pier near the bar where boats could dock and walk into the restaurant. A large group had walked in on this night, and they were both very clearly underage and very clearly over-intoxicated. I immediately cut them off, to which they made a very large stink about it, enough that the owner's husband came over to ask what happened. I explained that I had cut the group off and wasn't going to serve them, to which the owner's husband decided to take their drink orders and serve them anyways. Obviously money was tight, so they didn't care about the rules. The next day, the owner pulled me into the office, and accused me of stealing $50 out of the till the night previous. I knew this to be a lie that could be easily disproven because there is a camera located directly above the till that is synced to the time code on the POS. I was fired on the spot. I 100% believed this was because I was refusing to serve customers and thereby damaging their bottom line. I was really miffed to be accused of doing something I didn't do, and more upset that she used this lie she made up as an excuse to fire me. Because the stipulation of her having her liquor license was me working at the bar as manager, I emailed the Liquor Control Board when I got home and informed them of the rules being broken at the bar. A liquor inspector came to meet me later that week, and took a statement. He then paid a surprise visit to the bar and was able to witness all of the things that I informed him, including the owner both being on site and being involved in the business, serving minors, and serving intoxicated persons. The liquor inspector slapped them with a very large fine, north of $50,000. Their liquor license was suspended, and the owner was too broke to pay the fine, and was forced to close the restaurant. I received death threats from her for a while after that, but the revenge was absolutely worth it. r/ProRevenge. Landlord wants to sue us for hurricane damages. Story by anima-animus. Enjoy. I lived briefly in Florida about a decade ago, which is where I met my partner. It wasn't long after we met that we moved in together due to my not-so-great living situation, renting a room from a friend who was so addicted to opioids she could barely function, and her enabler husband. We found a nice little 2-bedroom house that was owned by an elderly couple that lived just a few blocks away. Everything was okay. We did find cockroaches after we moved in, which was quite shocking as I am extremely clean and had never had roaches before, and when we told the landlords they told us they were not roaches, but palmetto bugs, FYI they are the same thing, and refused to have an exterminator come in. Bad sign number 1. Then a hurricane blew in. This was Florida after all. It was only a Cat 1 or Cat 2, I don't really remember, but there was substantial damage to the roof and a lot of water had gotten in. Being northerners, we had no real idea how to prepare properly, and the landlords just told us to lower the hurricane shutters, so that is all we did. It wasn't long after we had mold growing on our walls, especially in the laundry room. Reported it to the landlords and they told us to just wash it down with bleach water. So we did, and it came right back, so it was a constant cleaning process. When we complained, we were told that was what life in Florida was like. They also came and took a look at the roof from the yard and told us, "You two are strapping young men, you can go up there and fix it, just let us know when you're done, yeah." No. Then another hurricane blew through, again only a Cat 1 or 2. But this time we had windows broken during the storm, and since our roof was still not repaired or even tarped from the last storm, our carpets and furniture were soaked. Here comes the black mold again, but this time not only on our walls but on our carpets and furniture too. I spent the days outside with our dog and we were sleeping in my partner's office. Our landlords again told us to just clean it up with bleach water and that the damage was our fault since we didn't prepare well and hadn't fixed the roof ourselves. So we called the city and had an inspector come by. He walked in and balked at what he found. Black mold all over the carpets and walls. The roach population had a little boom and he could tell, while looking at the roof, that it was in need of repair prior to the storm. And it still hadn't been tarped. The best part is, when I was standing at our open door with the inspector just inside, the old man came walking up talking about how we better have repaired the roof and how they were gonna charge us for all repairs and carpet replacements and mold removal, yada yada yada. Cue the city worker who came around the corner and asked him if he was the owner. He said yes, and the inspector told him he was condemning the house because it was not habitable and that it was not our responsibility as tenants to make or pay for the repairs. He also recommended that we should be released from the lease. Never seen an old man wobble away so fast. Later that night his wife called raising high holy hell about how she was suing us for damages, how we were not getting any money back, blah blah blah. She also said she had removed the condemned, danger signage that was placed on the door because it was embarrassing, people knew it was their property. But she made a mistake. She wrote us strongly worded letters about how we were taking advantage of the elderly, how all the damages were our fault since we didn't do any repairs, how she would not release us from the lease, and how many lawsuits she was going to hit us with. After contacting the inspector who saw our house, who took another trip to the house to replace the signage, we turned all of this in. He laughed and sighed and said he knew exactly how to handle it since he saw this all the time after hurricanes, and if they actually sued, he would testify in our favor since what they were doing was highly illegal. He then told us he was going to pay them a little visit and make sure the letters got into the hands of the right people, as well as how he had to replace the signs, another thing she admitted in the letters. About a week later, we got a really pleasant call from the landlady saying we were such wonderful tenants and how she was refunding our security deposit and how she was graciously going to let us out of the lease and not pursue any charges or the rent for the last few months, which we had refused to pay since we could not live there, and if we needed help finding a new place to let her know, and she would refer us to some of her friends who owned property too. Lol nope. We did learn, cause we were watching the situation, that the house had to be gutted and completely remodeled. We actually parked up the road with some takeout and watched a crew haul out sheetrock and carpet. They could have saved themselves thousands if they had just called a roofer and someone to clean up the mold instead of making us call the city and have the house condemned and then do whatever they did to make them change their minds on everything else. Still wish I could have been there when they were confronted by inspectors the second time. The first was glorious. TLDR, landlord expected us to repair the damages to our rental caused by a hurricane, and when another hurricane caused even more damage, we had the house condemned and the house had to be gutted. You are an absolute legend for making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. And if you can't get enough, consider subscribing. See you around.